Good morning, everyone. Good morning, welcome. I think we have everyone filtered in, so it's time to get started. Good morning, my name is Claire Schaefer-Olekshak. I'm the Executive Director of Sustain Dane. Welcome to the 2024 Summit. I'd like to start with a land acknowledgement. I want to recognize that we are on the traditional territory of the Ho-Chunk people. I acknowledge that the systemic inequity existing today stems directly from past crimes against the Ho-Chunk people. The Ho-Chunk tribe has lived here for over 12,000 years, and I celebrate their incredible resilience and strength. It is Summit Day. I look forward to this day every year. I joke with my team. I think Halloween's my favorite holiday, and then Summit is like my second one. So. This is a time when we get to come together, we get to break from our regular work and think big, get inspired, reflect, and connect with other people. This year is also special because it is the 25th anniversary of Sustain Dane. Yay! So as part of that milestone and recognition, I've had the opportunity to learn some more about the origins of the organization. And kind of through that, really affirming, I've really felt affirmed on the journey we're on and also the importance of the work we're doing and continuing forward. So if you'd like to join me in a time machine, this is an electric vehicle time machine, and I'd like to take you back 25 years to share one of those stories that I've heard recently. I think it's a great example of connecting the past and the present and the future. So like so many movements, Sustain Dane got started. There was a core group of individuals, had a big idea, and they started talking, right? They were gathering locally, they were building a base of knowledge, and had this question in front of them is how are we going to elevate sustainability in the community? As part of that work, they also branched out and went nationally and went internationally. And what that included is they brought a Swedish thought leader to Madison by the name of Torbjörn. He is known for the natural step concept and eco-municipalities, which might be something you've interacted with or known through Sustain Dane's work, but this story is not about that. So the founding group is together here. Torbjörn is here, and they are at the Arboretum Visitor Center. They're having this conversation, the big question, how can we raise awareness and action for sustainability across the community? So Torbjörn is listening to this group, he's presenting some of his own material, and he kind of brings it together and he says, what I want to kind of have you guys think about is this concept that we have in Sweden called a fire soul. And I think this could be what you all are talking about, and this is the kind of organization that you want to build. So Fire Soul is a new concept to me. Not sure if many of you might also be new to you. So I'm going to tell you about a fire soul. So a fire soul is someone that burns from within to take positive action. They have passion to do good, make a difference. Sometimes their work is quiet, sometimes it's very visible. And fire souls believe that solutions exist and that people and community are strengthened when they are together. I really like this word, and I really like all it encapsulates, and it clicked for me when I heard this. Brought a lot together about why Sustain Dane and why the summit are so special. The founders were a group of fire souls, and they launched this organization in Sustain Dane with that burning passion to take positive action for sustainability. That's what Sustain Dane is about today still. It's been from the beginning, and it's where we're going to continue going forward. And today, I get to look out and see all of you glowing, because you are all these fire souls too, right? You make up our organization, and this is what sustainability needs. It's all of you as the fire souls for our community. So this is where I want to be today, in community with all of you. I am so glad that we are here together, and we can continue doing this work. So thank you. Can I get a show of hands, please, for who has been to a summit before? Awesome. Can I also please get a show of hands now for who this is their first time summit? Also awesome. I think we're almost 50-50. So please take time today and make a point to introduce yourself to somebody that you don't know. In the Grand Terrace, we have tabletops that have topics of sustainability interest, renewable energy or climate education and advocacy. Those could be places maybe to congregate if you want to meet someone new, and also feel free just to turn around and say, hi, my name is da-da-da-da-da. During the break and lunch, we also have the exhibit tables out there, which are great resources and another way to link with new people. Is this linkage, is this working together that's going to move us forward? Some of us are in work, in our place where we're employed. Some of us are working in community, in schools, at home. So, learning about each other and what we're doing is going to help all of us. I'd like to thank our sponsors. So a big thank you to our members, our sponsors, and our partners and all the work they do to make our programs happen and make the summit happen. Our top sponsors include City of Madison, Community Shares of Wisconsin, and MG&E. I also would like to recognize all of our tree, forest, and leaf members and the additional sponsors and organizational partners. I really appreciate your support and collaboration and your commitment to sustainability. It's really through this work that we can highlight each other. Oh, let me go back one. There we go. I invite everyone to take time to look at the recognition signage boards, the organizational directories. We will also send this out. There's a place for everyone in Sustain Dane's network, so let's support each other and support organizations that value sustainability. So Sustain Dane's vision is a thriving and inclusive community with a sustainable environment and economy that we are proud to pass on to future generations. And our mission is to inspire, connect, and support people to accelerate equity and sustainable actions for community well-being. So that is what we do every day. That is what we work with you all every day. We put together a impacts video with some of our 2024 programs, some interviews from some of you. Hope many of you have been involved in these programs, and I hope that you enjoy the video and get inspired for some other involvement as well.
So I love coming to the Sustainable Breakfast Series because I'm always learning new things and I'm meeting new people and finding out all the really exciting, innovative aspects of sustainability and what different people and different organizations are doing. I'm just amazed oftentimes at what I see.
Yeah, I think that for nonprofits, being able to collaborate and build resources as a community is really important. And Sustain Dane events really allow us to connect with each other and learn together about how we're going to do things as a community.
This building is so improved from before the project this past summer. You guys got us heat pumps in 2 of the units. Those tenants are so happy because they're saving money on heat and air conditioning and electricity. And then you got us, the insulation work is phenomenal. I saw the before and after. It's unbelievable the beautiful work that you guys did. And then we also got bathroom fans in all the bathrooms, these beautiful new high quality fans. Our tenants are just so pleased with the beautiful work that you guys did. And I'm thankful that their bills are gonna be lower and that we are saving energy in general.
I really enjoyed my time in this program. I learned more about people I don't think I would have never met if I wasn't in this program. I learned about careers and opportunities I feel so lucky to have knowledge about and more. If it wasn't for Kenai and Marcus, I would not have even learned even more hands-on skills that would set me ahead in the future, so thank you for that. I honestly wish that the program had been longer or we had more days. Time with everyone here today and the memories I now hold, I wish I could have more of.
Yeah, we really love the composting program here. It's a good way for us to donate our scraps and not having us, fill up our trash cans and have things go into the landfill that don't need to be there. So we really appreciate you all being here every week.
If you are part of the board, can you please raise your hand? Board of Directors, thank you all for your service. We so appreciate it. Please also raise your hand if you are part of the staff. It's an incredible staff team. Yay! And then also would like to recognize our Compost and Powerful Teen Leaders team as well. We're here. So everyone together brings such positive energy, their dedication, the effectiveness of the work they're doing. This is just an incredible group. All right, on to our program this morning. So our intended keynote speaker, Esha Chabra, is based in Los Angeles. And as you may have seen, there are wildfires in Los Angeles right now. And she had to be evacuated late yesterday and is unable to be here. So we've made a pivot, and we're going to start with our afternoon session first, and then Esha believes that she'll be able to join us virtually this afternoon for her program. So I appreciate your understanding and your grace as we, make these pivots and readjust as we need to. So we're going to start the day with renewing our purpose and how nature sustains us. We have our moderator today, who's going to be Toral Livingston-Jha, and I'm going to welcome Toral onto the stage. She's going to be hosting the discussion and the learning we're going to have about some of our local natural spaces and some workshopping about our own connections with nature and the purpose and energy that can bring us for our future sustainability work. So please welcome Toral.
Hello, can you all hear me? Awesome. Well, good morning. It's so lovely to be here. My name is Toral Livingston-Jha, and I'm a leadership and life coach here in Madison. I grew up outside of Chicago and was born and raised in the suburbs of Chicago. And even though I spent most of my life steeped in a household that revered nature and talked about the natural elements of the world, I spent very little time outdoors. And then one day in 4th grade, we had the opportunity to come to this magical land called Wisconsin. They called it outdoor education because they knew us suburban and city kids didn't know what the outdoors really meant. And we spent 3 days in Lake Geneva, so we're just on the other side of the border. And I remember that day, I was 9 years old, stepped off the bus like it was yesterday. It was pouring rain, and I put my feet into the muddy ground and could smell the wet trees and leaves and just knew I was home. It was this feeling of, oh, this is what I've been waiting for. And something sparked in me. And so I spent the rest of my childhood trying to figure out ways to connect to the natural world in whatever ways I could, and really felt this commitment, this kinship to the world outside. This sense of, I need to advocate for that. I need to make sure that not only does it continue, but that more people understand its importance and relevance in their own lives. And so I landed back in the magical land of Wisconsin, when I was 18, I came to school here. And I studied biological conservation at the UW. I spent days and days and weeks on the Ice Age Trail. I got to know where there were nesting pairs of everything. We learned where the owls were and where the hawks were and when the kinglets arrived. And we spent so many days in lakes, and I got to understand the systems that I was so connected and committed to protecting. And alongside all of that, that was sort of my why. And alongside all of that, I wanted to figure out my how. And so my how became public education, public advocacy, around the issues of solid waste, education, and waste reduction, pollution prevention. That was where I really spent my days. So I worked for local and state government. I worked for nonprofits. We helped pass laws so that we would have producer responsibility. I loved it all until I didn't. Until one day I felt so completely disillusioned. And I think now I can say confidently, I was burned out. And so I hired a coach, and then I hired more coaches, one of whom is in this room today. And I figured out what was going on. How is it that I could have such a core why and feel so disillusioned? How is it that I had lost sight of the forest for the trees? And I figured out two things. One was that I wanted to create the opportunity, the spaces for people who were like me, that maybe didn't have the perspective, that we might not see the change that we're trying to affect in our own lifetime. That we might not see the change immediately. We might be planting seeds and they might bear fruit somewhere completely different in a different way. And so I wanted to start working with people who are those fire hearts, fire souls, and change makers. And so that's what I do. I work with people who are doing this work, like you all, who are somehow connected to that why that I have so deeply in my own body, but might feel stuck or confused, might be feeling disconnected. I also figured out another thing. I had actually found my way through doing all of this advocacy work back inside all the time. I was never going outside anymore. I was never smelling the trees. Feet were not getting muddy and wet. They were in a car, in the garage. They were never outside. So now I am extremely committed to being outside and intentionally schedule my date time with the world. Kayaking trips and camping trips and walks with my dog. However I can reconnect and maintain that intimacy with this world that I'm so committed to. So that's a little bit about why I'm here. And it's a little bit about why we're all here. And we're going to have a conversation with this amazing gentleman here in a moment. I'm going to invite you to introduce yourself too. And then we're going to invite you all to also reflect on your why and your how. And maybe even taking a moment right now as I'm talking, just noticing what's arising for you as I'm sharing all of this, right? Maybe there's your own sense of connection or disconnection that's showing up. Maybe there's something in your own body, maybe it's in your heart or your stomach, where you can feel that connection. Maybe there's a sense of wanting, or a sense of like, yeah, I can't wait till the summit's over and I'm gonna get back on my kayak tonight, or whatever it might be. Just noticing what's arising for you. And we'll invite you to engage with that a little bit more deeply as we continue on this morning. So with that, I wanna turn over to Luke and invite you to introduce yourself and maybe share a little bit of your story of maybe what's been sort of your path, your why, and your how.
Thank you, Toral. My name is Luke Kloberdanz. I'm Executive Director and CEO at the Ice Age Trail Alliance. And so I moved to Wisconsin, like Toral, from the other I-state, Iowa, where I lived in the suburbs of Des Moines and neatly manicured lawns as well. And came to Wisconsin in about 2000, where I got a job as a teacher, teaching third and fourth graders life skills, how to be. And I remember after about a decade of that experience and really loving the kid side of that, but not so much the adult side of that, really deciding that I was done. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I think of it as like a quarter life crisis I was having. And I said to my wife, I said, I got to go figure this out. I got to go figure out what I'm going to be when I grow up. And I took all my lamps and all of my couches and comfortable furniture in my classroom, and I gave it to all my colleagues, said, I'm not coming back. I don't know what I'm going to do, but see you later and good luck. On Friday, June 13th, my wife dropped me off at Potawatomi State Park, which is the eastern terminus of the Ice Age National Scenic Trail. So the trail, if you're not familiar with it, courses about 1,200 miles across the state, and it would be real easy to go from St. Croix Falls to Potawatomi State Park in a straight line, but it doesn't. It kind of curves around the state following the furthest extent of the last glacial advance. And so the trail itself really interprets the last major climate event that we had along the Ice Age. So I said, I'm going to go for a walk and figure out what I want to be when I grow up, and I threw a pack on. At the time, if you're familiar with our organization now, we have a lot of great resources. We have guidebooks and atlases, and there's an app for that, and all these things that help hikers get to where they need to go. But in 2003, we had very little of that, and so I had to sort of figure it out on my own. And there were only a handful of people that had done this before, so I tried to connect with them and just really set out on a journey. And the journey was to try to figure out who I was and what I wanted to be. So as I'm walking along, I really suppressed all of this sort of angst that I was having, all of this inner turmoil as a 24-year-old or something like that, and really tried to stay focused on the goal. And each day, I'd pack up my tent and throw it in a backpack and eat a granola bar and walk. And so having that time to really fall into the mantra of the walk and really sort of get deep, and it gets weird in your head when you have that much time by yourself and not seeing other people. And I remember, coming around the horn, the trail kind of goes around Madison, hits the very edge of Madison, and it goes north for quite a ways. And along the way, I wanted to be away from people, but it ended up being that people were the best thing. It's like, people would be like, oh, come into my house. So you need a Coca-Cola. A lady pulled up next to me on the side of the road. Would you like a Coke? I'm like, yes, I'd love one. And people just kept welcoming me into their homes. Gary and Mary Jane in Marquette County said, are you walking the Ice Age Trail? I said, yeah, you're like the first person to actually know what that is. And they said, well, come on to our house. Stop up here. I'll give you a ride. And I said, I can't take a ride. I have to walk every step, but I'll meet you there. And I stopped at their house, and they, made barbecue for me. And Gary's like, come on with me. I want to go introduce you to my family. We went around Westfield. We went all around, and he introduced me to his family. And it just felt like so ingrained in this culture that I really kind of just sort of got to know. Wisconsin's a weird place, right? There's this inside the cheddar curtain, that's very sacred ground. And that's what I realized when I got here. I was like, wow, people love this place, and I do too. And I remember sort of going around Langlade County, Anago, and heading west, and having just a moment where I had to stop on the side of the road, threw my pack down, sat on it, and we're on a gravel road, Tower Road. It's the very defining line between Lincoln and Taylor counties, and I'd been through a really rough day, hiked 24 miles, fell down, got jabbed in the neck by a stick. It was rough. And I remember sitting there, and this pickup pulls up, this red Chevy pickup with a white stripe on it. And this older fella gets out and leaves the car door open, and he comes down and he sits next to me. What are you doing? I thought, oh boy, here we go. I'm in trouble now. And we start talking, and we kind of talked, and we talked some more. Half an hour goes by, and we did not align in any way, shape, or form, politically, religious beliefs, anything, but we talked about it all. We talked about it all. And he left, and I started bawling. I'm not going to. I started bawling, and I just felt like this. See, it's still there. All this angst left me. And the rest of the walk was like walking on clouds. So it was a beautiful experience. And that one, doggone it, I was prepping for this too. I was really being tough. But when I came back, then I had to call all the people I worked with. I was like, hey, yeah, made a mistake. realized I was just being a big baby, and I need all my shit back. Sorry, oops, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. I need all my stuff from my classroom back because I'm gonna teach again. And they, oh yeah, great to have you back. And so that's 2003, and I'm in this classroom setting, and I see these kids. Being a male in elementary school teaching, I got a lot of students that were on the ADHD spectrum, probably like I am, right? And had this idea, or other spectrums that needed help. They need that male role model, which I kind of think is a sham anyway. But I met with I'd see them and I'd say like, we need something here. And I reflected on my hike, and I reflected on my angst and my feelings that I carried, and having to move away from that. And I remember my friend and I, who I teach with, Chris McNeil, I taught with, we got our list of students who are in need of remediation every year, right? And the kids that, hey, they really struggled in school, and we're looking at this list over a beer on my patio, and we're looking at it and saying the last thing these kids need is do the same thing we did for 180 days and expect something to change. Like, let's not beat their head against the same wall, right? Let's try something different. So we wrote a little grant through Sauk Prairie Healthcare Foundation. We got a bus. We said, let's take them hiking. Let's take them for a walk every day, 5 days in a row. So now being a parent, I'm thinking, wait, you're going to take my kid at 8 in the morning, drop him off at 4 p.m., you're going to walk him for like 10 miles? Deal. And it cost me $0? It cost me zero to do this. So that's what we did. And we hiked with these kids, and we gave them our guidebook, which then was produced at the time, super high level scientific texts about geology, things I don't even understand. And their job was to walk the trail. And you get from point A to point B. We're going to pair you with some high school mentors. And Chris and I will walk in the back and look for bodies. And so we're walking along. We'd meet up with them at the end. And it's just amazing the shift that they all experienced. And it wasn't like, oh, wow, I'm suddenly an academic genius. But they had confidence. They could do something. So then that program is called Saunters, based off of Thoreau's quote, it's a great art to saunter. And then in 2013, my son was born, and I was like, all right, I'm going to be done teaching for real. I can't divide my attention like that. And the Ice Age Trail said, hey, would you consider working for us? Would you consider coming on full-time staff and basically franchising Saunters? I said, well, I need to be able to work from home when my wife's on campus. She's an art professor. And then I want to max out my vacation days. And they're like, deal. I said, damn, I should have asked for a lot more. But I started there as outreach and education manager, and with the focus of connecting communities, connecting people to the trail, to the landscape, and especially the little ones, and getting them when they probably need it the most. And from there, I also started writing grants and doing fundraising work, and I shifted over to director of philanthropy. My boss at the time, I said to him, I can't do both. And he said, well, which one do you want to do? You want to do fundraising, or do you want to get kids out? I said, I'll do whatever puts the most people on the trail. And he said, no money, no mission. So that made up my mind. Did fundraising work, and then in 2023, I was made the executive director of the Ice Age Trail, where we have 24 people like me on staff that go out and we buy land, we care for the land, we restore it, we build the trail, we engage communities. That program of Saunters that started with 32 misfits, including the 2 teachers, as now we service 10,000 plus 4th graders every year. And yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. So that connection piece is really important to me, and putting people into contact with the space where everything else kind of fades away, and we don't have to worry about things that might be really nagging at us, like I've been experiencing for a few days here, and thinking that we are really insignificant, and that's freedom to me. Like, that's feeling that, yes, it's important. What I feel is important, and what I feel, but when you walk on this landscape and you're thinking about 20,000 years ago, a mile thick sheet of ice, and you're like, I can't even comprehend that. But I know that my time here is like a blip. I'm going to do everything I can to make it powerful and help all the people that I can along the way. but it has to be carried on to the next generation and the generation after that to become a movement. And I think that's what we try to do at the Alliance, is create a way to expand our ideas beyond our time here. We're not going to see the trail finished in my lifetime, but I hope it will be in my kids' lifetime. We just crossed 700 miles of trail built, and that's like a lot. Especially when you walk it, that's a long way. And so I feel like we're making progress, but thank you for putting up with my tears, and I can see it's pretty passionate.
Oh, thank you. So this wasn't a question that we talked about, but I'm wondering about 4th grade. My story, 4th grade, the group that you are so connected to. Like, what is it about that age of 9 and 10 that makes us so primed to connect in that way?
Well, I mean, we chose 3rd and 4th graders, and actually 5th graders, who would start getting attitudes, because they can tie their own shoes, blow their own nose, and they still like people, mostly. No, I think it's a time where you're open, right? And I remember teaching in that space. I really enjoyed the kids because of the honesty, and they weren't at that point so altered by their friends or their friends' families. And so now I have a 6th grader and a 4th grader, and I can tell the difference big time in the way they talk about politics and people and other things. And I think that lack of influence, and there's plenty of good influence and other influences out there, but they're still open to the idea that there's something more. And I wish we could all just act like 4th graders, right? This would be a lot better world. But they just really are open to new thoughts and new things. And, they come and they would show up for a Saunters event, a hiking event, with like a military pack filled with, like, they're going to be out there for 2 months. And because they like that excitement, that maybe, the next day they come with like a fanny pack. But I think that's the idea, is that they're open to it and they're excited by new things.
Thank you. So you spend so much of your days and your programming is so focused around other people and their connection to the trail and to nature. And I wonder for you, when was a most recent time where you felt most alive and connected to the outside world, to the natural world?
Yeah, yesterday. Our office is located right on the trail in Cross Plains. And there's a beautiful 3-mile loop from door to door that and we carve out time every day. We have a lot of those walking meetings, but one of my favorite places to be, and where I feel I can go back in time and put myself there, besides that experience on Tower Road, is in the middle of Chippewa County when I was hiking the trail and looking up through this tree canopy and just feeling so lucky to be able to be there at that time, and not taking it for granted, but just being totally immersed in that experience and knowing that I can go back to that space. But I think you have to carve out time to be there, right? You can't always be the recollection. It's got to be the renewal of that experience in some small way that keeps you connected to that time and space.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. Yeah. I wonder, how does that connection, that ability to recall, that connection that you hold, how does that inform your work? How does that keep you? You've named that the connection with people keeps you connected. How does your connection to the natural world keep you motivated, or I don't know, how does it show up in your work?
Yeah, I think it shows up frequently. I think we're lucky that in my organization that going to the trail and being on the land is like going to the office. And that's don't get me wrong, I look at spreadsheets a lot, like way more than I want to. But being connected to that space is really something we have to carve out. And I encourage our staff to carve time out to go. And for example, everyone on our staff gets 3 trail days, we call them, where you can go visit any national scenic or historic trail, and it's not a vacation day. So go out and learn and come back. And I think encouraging myself to do that helps me find purpose in our mission and focus in our mission. And it brings our vision to reality for me every day when we can go out there and I can see that connection happening for others as well as myself. Don't get me wrong, I need it probably more than a lot of folks, but it feels really good to be able to say that I'm in this space and I can just sit here and be. I don't have to be moving, I don't have to be running, I don't have to be doing anything else but just nothing but being.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking, during the pandemic, a lot of my work went virtual. And we all went virtual and we went outdoors. We went to places like the trails. And I wonder for you, how do you meet the challenges of our times? How does that show up for you?
Sure. Well, I can talk about the pandemic real quick. So there are 11 national scenic trails, and we're sort of colleagues together. Each national scenic trail has a nonprofit group like the Ice Age Trail Alliance. And then we meet with these people regularly, and when the pandemic struck and everything was shutting down, groups like the Appalachian Trail, Pacific Crest Trail, Continental Divide Trail, they were closing trailheads. They were saying, stay home, which is all a great message. I'm not anti that. But we said, people need the trail now more than ever. So let's not block it off. Let's not do that in the places where we can control that. DNR blocked off some parking lots, and people were parking on the side of the road and trespassing to get to the trail. And there's this real hunger and thirst for that. And during that time, we had a volunteer reach out and said, I did some calculations. Turns out you can fit almost 1 million people on the trail at 6 feet of distance. And thank you for that research. It validates. But I think that challenge that we had then, it shows up in different ways now. And whether it's funding that we get or don't get from our governmental partners, or the changing political climates and how that impacts our work with the National Park Service, one of our great partners. And I think just that connection to the natural space helps us weather those storms. And it's that idea that, okay, again, a little bit of insignificance here is okay. And knowing that we'll get past this, we'll get through this. A lot of crazy things have happened in this world, and knowing that when I'm walking or when we're walking with a group of kids, and I want to see the world through their eyes, and that really helps us recalibrate and deal with the headwinds that may or may not be blowing in our way and waiting for the tailwinds.
And when you are stuck behind the computer and staring at spreadsheets and in meetings, I'm sure, unending meetings, talking about that funding and all of that, how do you meet those challenges for yourself? How do you make sure that you stay connected? Are there any tricks that you've sort of incorporated into your life to get out there and stay focused on the trail?
Yeah, literally blocking time off my calendar every day, giving myself a good hour out there. That's my lunch break, and being connected. I mean, it's so easy to get wrapped up in our day-to-day that we sometimes forget the big purpose in what we're doing. And so little doses of that every day are really helpful for me to stay connected. But it is a scheduling thing. You have to plan for it. If you don't, you're going to get sucked into that computer screen and may not come back. So I think it's really important to make sure that you balance that. In my first year of being the executive director, I did not, and it was not a healthy space to be in. That mental health was critical for me and always has been. And I think that's my daily dose of medicine, is carving it out.
What do you notice when you're off balance with that connection?
I start acting like a 2-year-old. I get crabby, I get edgy. People come into my office, I kind of like, okay, yes, what can I help you with? Instead of authentically listening, and I think I can feel it in my body. I can feel from my blood pressure or whatever, that clenching of my chest, and it's kind of like having bright lights shining on you. But no, I feel that it's time to go for a walk. And I also love seeing my colleagues going out. We're right on the edge of Black Earth Creek, and there's a little walking path. And I look out there, and I'll see them walking. Sometimes with their hands on their heads, sometimes with their head in the eyes to the sky. But it's important, and it's we're fortunate to be able to have that space.
Yeah. One of the things that I've been offering clients is to walk and talk outside. It started during the pandemic as a way to meet in person. And I have clients that say, I just want to go kiss the lake and walk back, or I want to just go say hi to my favorite tree and we'll come back. So I wonder, do you all as staff do the same thing, leverage the trails as a way to also foster creativity or other kind of work?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're fond of the walking meeting and being able to go out and be in that landscape together. We also carve out time for non-staff meeting enjoyment of the natural space. So, you know, we hold 80 some properties around the state, about 5,000 acres that we own as an accredited land trust, and we're able to go to those, and we have staff work days where we go out to those properties and we do some work, but the time together enjoying what we help protect is really critical to us. And I think the other piece to that, I think oftentimes we take humans out of the natural environment. Like, this is something for us to sort of control and take care of, but humans certainly are part of that environment. And so we have 2,000 volunteers that give over 100,000 hours every year to this project, and we'll meet with them. We'll go out with them because that's part of that natural world that we live in, is their experience on it, and their love and connection to it helps enhance our love and connection for it. So yes, being out, recently our staff was at the South Shore Devil's Lake for the day, and we went hiking, some people went rock climbing, did a lot of paddling. And we kind of talk about work a little bit, but that's usually like the first hour, and then it shifts off to, so how you doing? You know, what do you think about, no one hardly ever talked about the election. But all of those things that came up just over and over, just getting to know, and then now we have memories of each other in that space, and that's what helps, I think, carry us together forward.
Yeah. I mean, I hear it. You embody this connection, this commitment. I wonder if you were to sort of share with all of us, like, if you could name what you are a commitment to, how would you phrase that? How would you name that for all of us?
Well, I'm definitely a commitment to my family, but in that future, I think I'm really a commitment to the long-term care of these spaces, and I think that comes from being a teacher. I think it comes from where what I see as really important to have these ideas that live beyond us, and building that ethic. Wisconsin has the greats, Leopold, Muir, some of these people that have really, shaped our land ethic. And we're just part of that story. We're just like the next link or whatever, to carry that on. But that's easily broken if you don't work at it. And so I think it's important for me as an individual to figure out who that next person is that's going to take over. I think when I was being interviewed for this job, they said, when would you start looking for a successor? I said, my first day. And that's, future.
Yeah, beautiful. Is there anything else you would like us all to know that hasn't already been shared?
I think we should have this meeting on the trail.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we want to invite you all in on the conversation. As I invited you earlier, to just sort of notice right now, just take a minute and notice what's coming up for you. Is there a felt sense of that connection that Luke's talking about? Is there a time in space and place that you felt that, I feel alive, I feel connected to this world? And so just noticing that, what's showing up. And on your tables, there's a piece of paper. And so maybe take a moment to just reflect for a little while. Who was there that time that you felt so connected? Who was in the red truck with the white stripe having the chat with you? Who wasn't there? Maybe what did it smell like or taste like? What colors were present? What did you maybe feel against your skin or under your feet? So just take a few moments to jot down that reflection. And as you connect with that memory, maybe coming into the present moment a bit, and just see how is it shaping your current work or your current life of stewarding the land or connecting with the land in whatever way it is that you do? How does it show up for you? And maybe there's some thoughts arising. Oh, I wish I had more of this, or I wish I did more of this. And so if you'd like to maybe make a commitment or even sort of share this idea of I am a commitment to what? And maybe to really play it out, you could say, I am a commitment to blank because blank is really important to me. Like, what is that? I'm a commitment to breathing the fresh air and saying hello to the birds every morning because connection and groundedness is really important to me. Just an example. And how would you maybe like to play out that commitment? Is there anything in particular you'd like to commit to? Maybe becoming a member of the Ice Age Trail Alliance. Or joining another community group. Maybe getting out on the kayak once a week. Whatever it is, what would you like to commit to honor that commitment, that connection? So taking just a few more moments to jot down your thoughts. And I'd like to invite you to connect with one another. So if you can find someone next to you and share with each other what you've just reflected on. And share as much or as little as is comfortable for you. And give each other time. So really just listen to one another. And I'll call you back when it's time to be done. Okay, so maybe wrapping up your shares. Maybe taking a moment to say thank you to one another. Maybe extending some gratitude to yourself for your willingness to share and to be vulnerable. And extending some gratitude to your share partner for their vulnerability and their connection. So now you have the opportunity to write yourself a little love letter. So there's postcards on your table. And those postcards are, on the one side, there's photographs that were actually taken by Sustain Dane staff. So take a moment to admire the beauty on these cards, seeing the world through their eyes a bit. And let me hold one up. So these are the cards, and there's 3 different kinds. So pick one. And if you would like, write yourself a letter, a short note. It's a postcard after all. And just write a note of reflecting on how you'd like to connect to nature, how you are connected to nature, and something that you'd like to commit to. And the team will send these to you during Earth Week in 6 months. So take a moment, write yourself a sweet note. And please make sure to address it if you'd like it to be actually sent to you. So wrapping up your thoughts and your note, maybe sealing it with a kiss. And there is a basket, so staff will be walking around with a basket to collect your postcards. And otherwise, you can also leave it at the table if you're not quite finished, and they will collect them after our session is over. And again, make sure you address it so that you can get it. So we'd like to open up the floor. You've all shared with each other, but if anyone would like to share with the room, maybe taking 2 or 3 shares from all of you, maybe a reflection, something you've noticed, or a commitment you'd like to proclaim, or maybe a request. So if anyone would like to share, we also have microphones that will be brought to you if you'd like to offer a few words to the group. there was a request to repeat what I just said. So I'm inviting you all to consider if you'd like to share broadly with the room. A commitment, a reflection from this morning's conversation, maybe a request, whatever's coming to your mind and your heart that might be not only important for you to share, but perhaps important for others to hear.
Yeah, we got one share out right here.
Okay.
I apologize. This is more of a question than a share. One, thank you for keeping those trails open. My favorite part about COVID was getting outside. We spent more time outside than we ever did before. My actual question is, you mentioned that there was 700 miles on the trail. My wife somehow has convinced me to try to be a 1,000-miler on that trail. We just finished the Mammoth Challenge last month. Does that mean I got to go back and forth a bunch, or am I missing something?
Well, we're going to get really trail nerdy here. There's a through hike, which is what I did. You start on one end, you walk contiguously through, or there is a section hike. You don't have to walk. So once you walk a section, you're done with it. You don't have to walk it back and forth, but you do have to do the connector routes in between. So the road walks, and there are about 1 million different strategies for the best way to do that. But yeah, so we have that 1,000-miler designation is what we have, and it doesn't matter if you through hike it or section hike it, as long as you walk every bit of it. And the longer you take to section hike, the closer you might be to walking only trail, but it might take you decades before we've closed all those gaps. Then you're gonna have some road walks. Yeah.
And we got one more over here.
So a couple days ago, we had the privilege of going to a ribbon cutting at a solar installation at a high school in our area. And one of the things they showed off was they were very proud that they had had an indoor courtyard in the school, and they had gotten it all covered over. And I said, well, doesn't that kind of remove the students more from the outdoors that used to be in the indoors courtyard? And they said, well, we couldn't use it most of the year, and so now we have added space. And so, they had their reasons. But thinking this morning about how important it is to get outside and be near nature, I wonder if some of these schools that are doing that, and I know another school that's just done that too, if they could bring nature inside by actually bringing plants, potted things, grow trees inside, and bring some of that nature into these courtyards that they've now turned into what to me is rather sterile classroom-like space. So, just a thought. You might encourage your high schools to do that.
Hi, everyone. I am a gardener. I work at a teaching garden here on the UW-Madison campus, and I am outside every single day. I go out into the garden, and the first thing I do is I walk around, and I think about it from a horticultural sense. How do I care for things? But I also look at it as, how am I connecting with the space, my space, and how do I want others to connect to it? Okay, so one of the things I always am thinking about is I may be an ephemeral part of this space that I'm creating, just as you are. But I also think about it what do I want people to experience? Do I want them to experience it the same way that I do? Do I want them to create their own connections? One of our mission statements is fostering people's connections with plants. And I'm constantly thinking about making an area that, those new freshman 19-year-olds can get out of their dorms, this cramped, enclosed, sterile space, and making their first, maybe their second, maybe their 100th connection with the plants that I have connections with. I take care of trees that are well over 100 years old. People might not be able to tell that off their first encounter with some of these trees, but I'm constantly committing myself to helping people make those connections, feeling a little bit more inclined to learn and infecting them with the passion that I have for my space. So do that. Go out. Make people aware of the things that you're excited about. That's all.
I just wanted to thank you, Luke, and you as well, because it's encouraging an environment of vulnerability, and it's great, and I'm very grateful that you were brave enough to do that. It's a really raw week, and so I took a lot of good notes. I mentioned this to the person I shared with, that surface level, the idea of sustainability is huge. And this week has really challenged that for many of our local businesses and our nonprofits. And so I just thank you for being vulnerable enough to create an environment where you get some of that, come away from however you said that, to walk away or move away from some of that angst in our hearts right now. So thank you.
Howdy, my name is Julia Bay. I'm an artist. I do a lot of 2D and 3D work. But outside of that, I'm also a human being, and I live in a house that has nothing but lawn, very limited lawn, so there's really no room to have a garden. So instead of having a garden, we collectively, as the household, decided to just get rid of all the grass and just plant whatever pretty flowers we got and some food. I mean, the guys in the room decided to plant everything that you can eat, and I decided to make it pretty. So, which was actually a great benefit to the whole community, and I decided to take over the land and go further. So instead of just taking the front lawn, we took the little land strip right there, and then we spread both ways, right? So I talked to the neighbors, which I got to talk to the neighbors. How often do you talk to your neighbors? And then I talked to my other neighbors on the other side, and it turns out we have a secret garden community, except everybody keeps it in the back that you never see. So I ended up bringing it to the front, and now I have a little walkway, and those people coming through always comment, about how, oh, wow, I didn't know we can grow this here, and now I want to grow this. So it kind of spread that way. Instead of like telling people what to do, I just showed them what you can do, which was kind of cool. So, yeah.
Awesome. And we have time for one more, so we're going to finish it up over here.
So when Luke was talking, one of the things that struck out to me is how he said he gets stuck into Excel sheets a lot. And my role as general manager, I get stuck in that a lot. And I think about how things are done more than why we're doing them. And so hearing you talk about that and how you separate your day and your passions and how it reconnects you with the real mission, my appreciation is being here because you all remind me why we're doing what we're doing instead of me getting stuck with one of my weaknesses is how I'm getting through the day for me and my team. So I'm grateful to be here because it reminds me of the why.
Thank you all so much for your willingness to play and to share and your vulnerability today as well. Please join me in giving Luke a warm round of applause.
Thank you.
And with that, I think I'm going to share it or pass it over to Spencer.
Hey everyone, I am Spencer. I'm the Development and Partnership Manager here with Sustain Dane. Thank you again, Toral and Luke, for leading this conversation. And Luke, thank you for creating and stewarding these spaces. Since I have the mic now, I thought I might as well share my answer as well. But when I think of being outside, I think of bug bites. I think of it being hot or too cold or just the right temperature, being windy, being slippery. And all of these things are very humbling and in that way very unifying. So very grateful for those spaces where you can be humbled and then empowered when you get back home and realize that it was a little bit fun as well. So thank you again. So as a Development and Partnership Manager with Sustain Dane, at last year's summit, I was just about 1 month into my role here. And over a year later, it is a beautiful sight to see you all here again, joining us for one reason or another. You know, maybe that reason was learning about the projects here in Dane County, networking with other sustainability enthusiasts, or just, you know, eating a great lunch and ending the week on a positive note. So Sustain Dane, we're here to support all of Dane County, whether you're an individual, part of a business, nonprofit, or in a municipality, or just a member of the community. As part of my role, I manage the sponsorships and memberships of our partnering organizations and individuals, and your support and you being here helps to make all of our programs possible, so thank you all as well for being here. 5 years ago, we rejuvenated our membership structure, and since then, we've enjoyed serving you all, creating connections, providing resources, and helping see your climate goals become climate realities. I'm excited to announce that as we go into 2025, we will be rolling out our membership benefit update that will continue to provide new opportunities on top of our existing slate of benefits. In January, membership benefits will start to include leadership opportunities within our program work groups and ambassador work groups, resources to share internally at your organization for increased employee engagement, an increased number of complimentary summit tickets, promotion of job opportunities within our newsletter, and then growth of our volunteer networking and social events with a welcoming sustainability community, and much, much more. So as the day goes on, please feel free to stop me and ask any questions that you may have. And as you're here, please consider donating to Sustain Dane through the QR codes on your table, or buy a raffle ticket for some of the really sweet prizes that we have out there. I know that I'd be putting a ticket into most of those, so you have some competition. Or join us as a Sustain Dane member and take advantage of our sparkly new membership perks. So thank you again. Enjoy your break. We look forward to seeing you in here again at 11 for the local Sustainability Wins panel. Thank you.